The Smoking Gun 2. My acid test of honesty. On the 25th July 2019, I received an email from a person stating that a term that had been used in my The Smoking Gun video was incorrect and the video of the bell jar was unfair. I emailed the person to inform him that I would review his comments and make the necessary corrections. Here they are. The setup shown was used in the previous video observation. In this setup, the gas is leaving at the bottom of the bell jar. This does not prove that the difference in pressures causes the smoke to leave the bell jar, as the downward exit of the gas could be due to gravity. This is an excellent point, and the observation must be done again to determine whether the reason for the smoke leaving the chamber is gravity or a difference in pressures. In the new video, the bell jar has been turned upside down so it can be determined whether a scientifically unproven gravity or force of gravity can hold smoke in a jar against the difference in pressures between the inside of the bell jar and that produced by the pump. The video. Gravity, or the force of gravity, cannot prevent the diffusion of gas or smoke from the bell jar when there is a pressure difference between the pressure inside the bell jar and the lower pressure created by the pump. This is in accordance with the second law of thermodynamics. What were the pressures involved? We will examine the pressures involved in the observation, then apply the known scientific laws, logic, and reason to determine our situation on Earth. The person also stated that the term pressure differential had been used as the label for certain numbers and that ratio of pressures was the correct term. Numbers for both terms are now included in the tables. Average atmospheric pressure at sea level, 101,325 Pascal, 760 torr, 1,013.25 millibar, 14.7 psi. Molecules per centimeter cubed, 2.5 times 10 to the 19th molecules, 25,000 trillion molecules. During the observation, there was a maximum pressure ratio of times 51,000 between the pressure inside of the bell jar and the lower pressure created by the pump. Gravity, that is said to exist, cannot prevent the diffusion of the smoke or gas up and out of the bell jar. What happened to the smoke and gas at a pressure ratio of times 51,000? At a pressure ratio of times 51,000, the smoke diffuses into the area of lower pressure in accordance with the second law of thermodynamics. The smoke or gas is not prevented from diffusing away by any force present or anything that could be thought of as a force. We have been told that Earth is in space. Space, which is said to be expanding. Outer space has very low density and pressure and is the closest physical approximation of a perfect vacuum. But no vacuum is truly perfect, not even in interstellar space, where there are still a few hydrogen atoms per cubic meter. The pressure of space is quoted as being 3 times 10 to the negative 15 Pascal, 1 times 10 to the negative 17 torr, 1.33 times 10 to the negative 17 millibar, 1.929 times 10 to the negative 19 psi. Molecules per centimeter cubed, 10 to the negative 6 molecules, or 0.000001 molecules. Excuse the maths, you need to scale up the volume to get to one real molecule. And here we have a chart of the pressures in deep space, Earth sea level, the pressure differences, and the ratio of pressures. We see average at about 76 quintillion. What would happen to the gases of the atmosphere? Between deep space and the atmospheric pressure at sea level, there is a pressure difference of 14.699 psi and a pressure ratio of over 76 trillion. This is a simple observation that anyone can perform or view on YouTube. The observation is self-explanatory. If you lived on a space-traveling globe, then there would be no atmosphere, no life, and no you and me. Some people may bring up the principle of a gas density or pressure gradient within the atmosphere and somehow imply that a gas density or pressure gradient will prevent gases from diffusing into an area of lower pressure, breaking the second law of thermodynamics, which if they could actually prove would earn them a Nobel Peace Prize. The higher the number, the more dense the air and the higher the gas pressure. The air is less dense as elevation increases, resulting in less gas pressure. In this diagram, there is a density pressure gradient, and in accordance with the second law of thermodynamics, the gas will diffuse from an area of high gas density pressure to an area of low density pressure. At the same time that the more dense air from 2 flows to 1, the more dense air at 3 flows to 2. At the same time that the more dense air from 3 flows to 2, the more dense air at 4 flows to 3, and so on, resulting in all the gas flowing, diffusing towards the supposedly ever-expanding near vacuum of deep space, and a density pressure gradient making no difference to whether the atmosphere remains here on Earth. we would not have one. Whether the pressure gradient is gradual or sharp, gas will still diffuse from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure in accordance with the second law of thermodynamics. The logical conclusion from this observation is incontrovertible. There is no other explanation. There is only acceptance or denial of the facts and an unbroken law of science. The acid test of honesty. The observation has been redone. The incorrect label name on the tables has been changed. My apologies for these being initially incorrect. Another row added to each table to include pressure difference. Another column added to each table to include PSI. I have expanded on how a density gradient does not present the diffusion of a gas. Gravity, which cannot be scientifically proven, does not have the ability to prevent gas or smoke diffusing from an area of high gas pressure to an area of low gas pressure, as shown in this observation. If we were on a globe in ever-expanding space, then the Earth would have no atmosphere. The gases in the atmosphere and water vapor would diffuse into space in accordance with the second law of thermodynamics. A person that disputes this observation needs to supply a repeatable and reproducible observation that demonstrates that gravity can prevent gas or smoke diffusing from an area of high gas pressure to an area of low pressure, and pointing to the sky and saying, "Well, it's happening here on Earth," is not proof. That is an affirming the consequent fallacy. My sincere thanks to Karen B. for her technical support in the production, and this video is dedicated to the Globe Lie Tour 2019. Please check out the YouTube channel and support them any way you can.